Welcome to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Our mission is to bring you discussions on a wide array of topics in the coaching world to grow players on and off the court. You can connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, and also reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Now, here's your host, Coach Mike Hernandez.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here for another episode. As always, wherever in the world you're listening to us from, whatever platform you're listening to us on, as I always say, thank you guys so much for all of the support, all of the messages, all of the things that you send to me, all the things that you send to the show. I love hearing from you guys. I love especially hearing from you, your suggestions on topics and the things that are going on in your coaching world, because it's really fun to be able to take those and then make those into topics and discussions that I have with my guests. And keep those coming, because one of the things that is always on discussion in social media circles and with coaches is always innovations with offense, right? Offense is something that's always evolving and always changing. And of course, those of you listening know about how the game has seemingly gone more and more positionless, and how guys need to be able to be effective on multiple spots on the court. The concepts of motion offense and guys moving and being in space and all that great stuff is really popular for good reason. And we're going to jump right into that today about what goes into teaching a positionless motion offense, not motionless motion offense. The ideal actions to get, things in order of teaching points, so mentally players understand what's going on, skill development, a whole lot of stuff, basketball IQ, a lot of really good stuff in this. So we're going to jump right into talking about teaching positionless motion offense with my guest, a busy individual. He's on the AAU side. He's also head coach at Penny High School out there in Missouri. Coach Doug Burnett joining us today. Coach, again, pleasure to have you on. How are you doing today?
Oh, doing great. Thank you for having me on. Excited to talk hoops. I've been listening to the podcast and love learning about it. So I'm excited to be on now.
Thank you, Coach. Let's jump right in with you. Talk to us about this great game of basketball and this great coaching journey that we're all on. Where is this great game of basketball taking you, and how did you get involved in the AAU side as well as get the job over at Penny?
So for me, being born here in Kansas City, I came home from the hospital in a KU onesie. So I was brainwashed from birth that KU basketball is a religion here. Grew up my whole life loving basketball. My grandpa was a head coach in Western Kansas for 30 years. And just my dad tells this story of when I was in 5th grade, my grandpa and I would watch film and would just watch hours and hours and hours of film. His old games, we would take them and watch them, and I would just learn. And he knew then that I was an addict. I was a basketball addict, and I could just watch it and love it. So that kind of is when I knew. When I was in 6th grade, I realized that I was not very fast, couldn't jump very high, and wasn't very tall. So I changed my mind from being an NBA player to wanting to be a basketball coach, and continued through. I still loved to play, and that's when I got my freshman year. Going into my freshman year, I started playing for an AAU team at the time. It was called the Pumas. And that's kind of what sparked me, what we're going to talk about today, the positionless basketball. I learned to do it there and really fell in love with it. Played through high school, played basketball in high school, and then started coaching with the organization right after that. And that's a lot of my philosophies are built off of that. And then I went in, and I've been a head coach a couple times, been lucky enough to win a district championship and play in another. And then Penny opened up late last year, and was a place that I had a previous coaching stop. I coached against it and was really fond of the school and the athletes that they had, and just was like, all right, let's go for it, and was lucky enough to get hired there. And so now that's brings me to today.
I always am curious about coaches' thoughts when they first go into a program. I imagine there's so many things that are on your mind when you first take over a program, things you want to implement, things you want to do, try to get everything kind of like set right. So hearing your journey and hearing how you just recently took over at Penny. What were kind of like your, day one, week one, like, okay, I'm in the program. These are the things I want to immediately get done and kind of establish right away.
Big thing for us getting established right away was it's going to be a different style than they're used to. So it was, we talked a little bit about this off air, but I wasn't able to teach and coach at the same school this year. I had to teach one place, drive an hour, and then coach at the other place. So I wasn't able to, during the fall, get in there and talk to them and meet with the guys a whole bunch. So
Right.
I convinced them. A big thing early on was convincing them how important it was for us to get together like once a weekend and let them kind of see and do how we're going to do stuff, some video examples of what we do, and just get to know me a little bit. So that was a big part of our early adjustment, was just like me getting to know them, because I wouldn't get to until basketball season.
Yeah, I mean, and you know how important, and we all know how important those relationships are, right? You want to establish those right away and get those going. So, it's that's a unique challenge, but one that you made a priority. So I imagine it was something that you were really consistently working on throughout the years. Getting those strong relationships and maintaining those.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot with our guys, that the basketball is going to stop bouncing for everybody eventually, no matter how good you are. LeBron James has been doing it for a very long time at a very great level. He will eventually in his life stop playing basketball. Who knows when it's going to be, but it'll stop. And when the basketball stops bouncing, you're left with the relationships you built and the kind of person you are. So, we got to spend a lot of time on that, because it's what's going to last you longer than sports will last you.
Definitely. Coach, a big focus of this, of course, our conversation is on offense, but I know that something else that you are passionate about is a pack line defense, which somebody who runs, kind of a version of pack line myself, I love hearing from guests and other coaches who do run a pack line. So talk about, your defense and what you see as kind of the keys to running pack line the way that you want it run.
Yeah. So this terminology is getting more popular. You see it more of calling it a gap defense. We're more of a gap defense than we are a true pack line. So we're pressuring more. We pressure in the full court and extend it out. But it's still the same principles as the pack line, is that our number one job is to keep them out of the paint. That's we care more about plugging in that gap than we do about the guy catching the ball. Which is obviously different than the denial. And, a big part of that for us is getting our kids to understand that the ball scores, not your man. We always have this conversation early on. I asked them, hey, what scores, the ball or your man? And somebody would be like, oh, your man. I go, okay. Have you ever seen your man go through the hoop? And then I'll kind of laugh like, yeah, the ball is what goes through the hoop. That's what scores. So we got to stop the ball. Another joke I have with them is they don't make it a secret, right? What's the name of the game that we're all playing? They're quiet for a little bit, and somebody will be like, we're playing basketball. I'm like, yeah, exactly. Protect the basket, stop the ball. That's the name of our game. Protect the basket, stop the ball. It's not man ball, it's not man basket. Protect the basket, stop the ball. Makes life. I try to make things easier for them.
Yeah, yes, I like that language though. Yeah.
And then we talk a lot about. I have them try to envision this. So we have just two rules on defense that we stick to. One, no layups. Two, no second chance shots. Obviously, you have these two no's, like keeping them to 0 layups is an impossible task, but you keep them in the single digit points in the paint, good things are going to happen. Right?
Yeah.
And you keep them in the single digits offensive rebounds, good things are going to happen. And I asked the guys, have you ever been in a game or seen a game where the other team shoots one jump shot every possession and wins that game? They're like, oh, that's good. That's a good point. No. Like, yeah, if the other team gets one jump shot every possession, you're going to have a really good chance at winning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, I'm sure that does, and then the light bulb go off in your guys' head after that a little bit.
Yeah, it helps them. it helps them a lot. And like I said, we're a little different than the traditional pack line. We want more pressure, and we're in the passing lane a little more than that true stuff. But if you would watch us, you'd be like, oh, okay, if I'm going to give that a name, it's a pack line.
Yeah. And so you implementing it this past year, was this a different approach than what they were used to? Is this something that was an adjustment for them?
Oh, yes. Big adjustment. They played a lot of zone, a lot of box and one, a lot of 3-2 last year. So it was a major adjustment for them into playing. We played exactly 0 possessions of anything other than man-to-man. Every single possession the whole year was man-to-man. And last year they played probably a total of 10 man possessions.
Oh, wow. That is a difference.
Yeah, which made a big difference. And like I said, we had our first, they all play football. So we had our first practice one day before our first game. And so offense and defense both were pretty ugly early on. And credit to our guys. They just kept coming and kept getting better and believed in what we were doing. And after Christmas break, we were 15-7 the rest of the year. So
if they picked up on it, a bit of an adjustment, right? But you're always working on it. I think that speaks a lot to whatever it is that you're going to run, like that buy-in, and having a group that's going to buy into what it is you're going to do. And it might not be pretty at the beginning, but credit to them that they stuck with it and definitely were getting some results at the end.
Yeah, exactly. It's about getting them to see the small victories, especially when you're taking over something. You stop and you talk about exactly what it is. Like, hey, we just had 3 times in a row where like they got awful shots. Now stick with it. Don't go away from it. Stick with it. Stick with it. Getting them to believe in that. And also, all of us coaches love to talk about how great we are, but having tough kids makes it a lot easier. And we were lucky to have really tough kids this year that believed in what we were doing. So
no, I definitely have some players, and I'm sure we all have, right? Players that make us look good, players who make us look like we're like genius or great coaches. And sometimes like, man, it's just all them. Like I may give them some advice, some pointers, put it the right direction, but they're the ones who make it happen. So sometimes they're the ones who make us look the best.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Talk about offense now, Coach. We kind of shift into that. So I want to talk about the mentality first of getting guys away from running, continual set plays or being stuck in certain positions to this more open kind of positionless style of basketball. So from a mental standpoint, how do you work with your guys, whether it's individually or as a team, to kind of get them to kind of shift to the mentality of running this sort of offense?
So one of the things that I always emphasize with people when they see Villanova play in this beautiful positionless, Jay Wright Villanova play and see this beautiful positionless in and out, all these guys making shots and doing all these things. I always want to emphasize to people that it is not easy and it's not fun early on. That's a common misconception people have, is like, oh yeah, we're just going to open it up and it's going to be fun all of a sudden. And it's like, doesn't really work like that. It's a grind early on to get these guys to believe in this process of like learning to be comfortable being uncomfortable. Because in order to be positionless, all of these guys have to expand their game to allow us to become positionless. So they're used to being a back the basket guy. They've got to get used to bringing the ball up the floor, and they've got to become comfortable with that. So that idea is really hard. And I think that something coaches, we all struggle with, is that we try to survive the moment. You're trying to win this game today. And so positionless basketball doesn't work game one. Like, okay, we got to start just putting this guy in the post because it's going to win today.
And blow it all up. Yeah.
And you blow it all up and you don't get to the end goal. Like you have to you have to drag through the mud for a while to get where you want to go. So that's a big part of it. And this next part is the true heart of everything that I have learned to do. And that is to have at least 15 to 20 minutes every single day of no dribble. Every day, 15 to 20 minutes of no dribble basketball. So if you have a dribble, they don't ever learn to play without the basketball the way they need to play without the basketball. So in our spacing, our 4-out and 5-out stuff, we have 15 minutes every single day of some sort of no dribble and learning how to pass, when to cut, when to curl, when to fade, when to do all those things, and understanding that and using it with the pass instead of the dribble. And that teaches you, if I don't have the dribble, I have to learn how to score before the ball touches my hands. I've already scored by the time I touch the ball. And I've got to learn how to do that. So it's a lot of turnovers the first couple days. 1, they catch a dribble and just blow the whistle, turnover. 2, they get themselves into bad spots because they're not sure what to do when they don't have the dribble. And so they throw the ball away and it's a turnover. So it's super ugly for like a month. And then it gets better. And then it gets better. And then it gets better. And eventually you get to this thing where you have the true positionless basketball. They can all do everything. They can all read the screen. They can all post up. They can all do all this stuff. But it just takes a lot of time is the key to it.
Out of curiosity, what are those drills? What do they look like? Those, no dribble drills? Is it just certain things where you're running where you put the restriction on where they can't dribble, or are there certain, things that you do that are tailored to make sure they're not dribbling?
So a couple different ways that we do it. One, our base is 41, 4 out, 1 in. And it's a very simple action, pass and screen away. That's our only rule. Pass, as soon as you pass, screen away. And we have our spots, like we put tape on the ground at the 4 spots, X marks the spot. But our rule is when you get to that spot, if you don't get the ball, you just basket cut hard. And so yes, there's a pass and screen away. But then as I come off this, I learn that like, okay, I see color. As soon as I see color, basket cut. And you start to learn to do it that way. So for us, it's 5-on-5 in 41, no dribble, or 4-on-4, no dribble. We do 3-on-3 stuff, no dribble. We'll do 2-on-2 pin downs, no dribble. We'll do a drill we do a lot is 2-on-2 post feed and relocate is what we call it. So one guy on the block, one guy on the wing, post feed and relocate. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Semi-Pro.
A long time ago, yeah. I think maybe when it first came out, but it's been a while.
There's a scene in Semi-Pro where Will Ferrell and the guy are post feeding, and then he kicks it back out, and he post feeds and kicks it back out, post feeds and kicks it back out. He's like, nope, not now, and he kicks it back out. So that actually came from them watching practices from the guy that I learned a lot of this from. He coached with the ABA Knights, and they came and watched this. They were watching them do this drill, and they stole it, and they thought it was so funny. They stole it and put it in the movie.
Is that right? That's
yeah. So that's actually incredible. Like we watch it like that's that's our 2-on-2 post feed and relocate. So, which again, we have when you're doing this, you have everybody doing everything. So our point guard is on the block, and the 5. Yeah, I say point guard and 5, right? This is who they guard defensively. That's our positions are who you guard. So the point guards are on the block and the 5 is on the wing. And so the 5 has to learn to post feed. And then the point guard reads it from the block. Am I single coverage? Okay. I go to my jump hook or my step through. They double down. I kick it out for the kick out 3. So it's nothing we do is complex. It's just like over and over and over again until we get very skilled doing it. So that no dribble stuff is huge for us. Just again, these other things that I talk to my guys about. One of my favorite things to do is I line everybody up on the baseline, and I'll just make up some amount of money. Like, oh, I got $200 in my pocket right now. if I'm going to pass this basketball to the other wall, when I pass it, you guys are going to take off running. If you beat this basketball to that wall, I'll give you all the money in my pocket. And of course, it's never, ever going to happen, right? I can throw that ball a million times and they'll never run as fast as that ball is moving.
No. Yeah. It's a great way to illustrate the point, right?
Yeah. And you'll have a guy that's pretty fast, like, oh, I can get it this time. And so you'll throw it a second time and a third time. And by the time he's run down the court 3 times, it's like, oh, man, you're right. We can't ever move as fast as that ball. And then I go a step further. I'm like, who's the fastest person to ever live? And it's like, yeah, Usain Bolt. I don't know if that's actually true, but like in general, people think Usain Bolt's the fastest person ever. And Usain Bolt's top speed is not as fast as you can pass a basketball.
Yeah.
So that's our whole key, is that pass is fast and dribble is slow.
And those sort of illustrations, I imagine, are the things that, like, okay, you've seen me illustrate this with this little concept. All right, you got it. I don't need to like keep reiterating this point.
Right.
I mean, obviously, players are gonna over dribble still, or when they first learn something, or it's gonna be, something that's like, oh, like they're gonna mess up, but they understand the concept, so it's kind of a quick redirect, I imagine, if there is a mistake being made.
Yes. Yes. In high school, it's easier, because you have them every single day. I also do this in AAU. We do the same stuff. And I can remember these guys are 17 you guys now. So when they were freshmen, the group that I have, we were playing in a tournament in St. Louis at Principe High School, Principia. And we're playing in a game and they're just dribbling. And the team's pressuring us and they're just dribbling all the time. And so I call timeout. I'm like, look, guys, I'm going to tell you right now, if you dribble the ball after we're across half court, I'm going to sub you out of the game. And they'll do it first couple of times. You just start subbing people. You're like, look, if you're going to dribble, I got to sub you. We're going to do this without the dribble. And you just sub them and you sub them and you sub them. And it's a little ugly early on in the game. And then one time gets to a point where a kid's about to get a 5-second call and he dribbles and I sub him. And, well, I'm going to get a 5-second call. I'm like, guys, we're working on something right now. I don't care about today. I don't care one bit about winning the game today. I want us to be great. And the only way we get to be great is if you learn how to do this without the dribble. So finally it clicks with them like, oh, he's not playing. He's just going to keep subbing us if we dribble. And then they start to figure it out. And all of a sudden it's like basket cut, wham, basket cut, wham, basket cut, wham, skip pass, 3, basket cut, wham, post feed, wham. And you just start scoring a ton of points with that ball flying around. And then once they see it, then you got them hooked.
Yeah, then they know not to go back. They see why it works, right? And it's like, okay, this is why I've been telling you this sort of thing, right?
Yeah, and everyone wants their teams to be unselfish. We all hope our teams are unselfish. The best way to force your team to be unselfish is don't let them dribble. Mm-hmm. If you can't dribble, you're forced to be unselfish. You have to move the ball if you can't dribble. Yeah. And that's all the heart of what we do. We want 8 guys to score 8 points a game. In high school, you're scoring 64 points and you got a good chance to win.
With that kind of as a follow-up then, because I think it's a good way to kind of ask this, what is your ideal actions in offense? Like when you think of like, when we're running this offense, this is what I envision that we're getting as our looks. What are those ideal actions? And I know you've kind of alluded to it earlier in a previous answer, but what's the process of getting your guys to, see that these are the actions that we should be getting out of our offense?
So progression to this, we start every single practice with skill work rotations. All of our guys do everything. So we have one rotation that we have this layup sequence that we teach them. And it's just away from different spots on the floor, and we really emphasize one dribble layup, right? So rip through one dribble and get to the rim, and just talk about the footwork necessary and ripping through hard, how to do that. We do a station of ball handling. We'll do a station that we call it 2-on-2 football, which is ultimate Frisbee is the best way to explain it with a basketball. So you're having to basket cut, L cut, step through and make a pass, and learning how to pass with both hands. All of our guys learn to shoot. I say 3 moves. A drop step is barely a move. You just pin him and you catch it and you lay it in. And then we learn the jump hook and the up and under, but we learn all that stuff without the dribble. So you learn to step through on the jump hook and the up and under, but all of our guys learn to do it. And then all of our guys do a shooting station as well, which starts off as just kick out, catch and shoot. And then it progresses to off the move stuff. And then it progresses to reading and flaring and shooting. So it's all a progression there. So this stuff is reinforced every single day, the shots we want to shoot. We want to shoot layups. We want to shoot post feed jump hooks. We want to shoot post feed kickouts. And we want to shoot shots that we say go through the paint. So there are several ways to go through the paint. One of them is a post feed. One of them is a basket cut. One of them is dribble penetration kick out. And then the last one that goes through the paint is a skip pass. And we're on our guys about skip passes. Like, throw the skip pass as much as you can. And so those shots are what we want. We want layups and then kick out 3-pointers are what we want to shoot a bunch of. And like I said, our action's not super complex. Pass and screen away, and then it's just read and react off of that. So I come off the screen away and my guy cheats it, I basket cut. I go to set the screen away and I notice they're switching. Well, I just slip. And then I hit that slip. So our entire offense, our entire base is put in day one. And then after that, it's just reading and getting better at it. We don't have to learn a lot of actions. And we have 41 as our base, which is also our transition. So our transition leads right into this stuff here. We're positionless in transition. So whoever gets it goes. And then the first guy down the floor goes to the ball side corner. We don't have positions. So first guy down the court, ball side corner. Second guy down the floor is the rim runner. Third guy is the weak guy side corner. And then you have the ball in the trailer. And you're right into 41. So we're in it already. As soon as we do transition, we're in 41. And that's our base. And then we teach them, okay, well, if I don't have a mismatch on the block, then I need to get out. And now we become in 45, which is 5 out. It's the same action, 5 out. Or we just flip who the 41 is, right? We ran it in transition. And now the guy that's on the wing realizes, oh, I'm too big and strong. He just goes into the block. And now we're into our same actions again. Sorry, that's a little tangent there. I don't know.
No, I know, definitely. And I think something that I imagine people are listening or wondering, and I know you touched on this, but I imagine they're hearing this like, man, Coach, like how is it possible to get, all of these guys, well versed enough in all these different skill sets where anybody can run the break, or anybody could be out there in the post, or with all of this varied skill set, and they're probably wondering like, how do you get guys up to speed where they're able to do all these things? And so is it, like you alluded to, is it just the consistent amount of emphasis and the skill work that's put into practice? Is that kind of the key, is that you're always drilling these sort of principles and ideas with their skill work?
Yeah. So it's just consistent that we pretty much break our practice into 90-minute practice as best we can into 3/3. So the first third is skill work, 30 minutes skill work every day. Then the next third is our half court team stuff. And the next third is up and down team stuff. Now, it's not like 30 straight minutes and then 30 straight minutes. Like, we don't block it like that. Right. But as we look at our total practice plan, I want to have 30 minutes of each of those things. And the consistent skill work is really big. And like I talked about, like, it's ugly at first, right? Because you're allowing the kid that has been a post player for his whole life, you're letting him bring the ball up the floor and he turns it over. And then the next day he doesn't turn it over the same way, but he turns it over a different way. And the next day he doesn't turn it either of those ways. And he learns to make that read. And the next day he gets better at it. And we'll do one way that we do this in practice and we force it in practice is I'll put my 5 smallest guys on one team and my 5 biggest guys on the other team and make them go head to head. So couple things happen. One, small guys get up there and ball pressure, learn to ball pressure, right? So the big guys have to learn to handle it against that ball pressure, and it just, speeds up their decision making.
Right.
And then big guys, we get it handled. Now understand we have a mismatch. So we're not going to take off dribbling. We're not going to catch and shoot a 3 after one pass. We're going to pound that thing into the block. Okay. Working on defense on the other side. The little guys are having to work on defense. They better get in the front of the post and pinch on the weak side and force those guys to make that skip pass. And you're just working on both sides. Flip side of that, the littles versus the bigs, our littles should be pushing the pace and they should be killing them with basket cuts and stuff. And our bigs are learning to sit down and guard the ball, right? They're because as much as we're, like I say, we're a pack line team, we don't switch much. It happens. You get switched on a bad matchup. So the guy that typically guards 5s, he better sit down and be able to guard the 1. And we just learn, you just learn through it this way. And every team that I've had, my AAU teams and my high school teams, our young, low-level teams do not win very much because our AAU team, we allow the 5'10" 5th grader to bring the ball up the floor, and everybody else has him on the block dominating. And we let him bring the ball up the floor and teach him how to play. Same thing in my high school. I let the kid that's been a post player his whole life, he gets to bring the ball up the floor when he's a freshman. And we lose a lot because he turns it over. So we lose a lot. But nobody remembers their 5th grade AAU team. Nobody remembers their freshman high school basketball team. All of us, our goal for our AAU team, our goal is to get them college scholarships. In high school, our goal is to hang banners. And the only way you get there is if you go through the early grind, and then you get to see the glory at the end.
And then, that goes back to the concept of what we talked about earlier about like buy-in and having guys understand that everything that, they're doing is part of a process, and to be looking at, that big picture. And, as we kind of talked about earlier, really emphasizing that and making it, really clear about, this is where we're going and this is where we're headed. And you're going to, be taking some lumps, especially when you're younger, but that's fine. Let's focus on the big picture. And to have guys who believe in that and are fully embraced on it, those are the ones I imagine who, really make those strides at the end because they're fully bought in and see mistakes as a way to grow.
Yeah, exactly. And, as I say this, yes, we are positionless, and everybody has this opportunity. Some people just in the game are not comfortable bringing the ball up yet. And so it's not like I just make everybody do it all the time. Like there's a time that a guy that is a naturally good ball handler, he goes and gets the ball and handles the pressure. So, as you talked about this positionless motion basketball, it's not that we never have a guy who is more of a point guard, and you never have a guy who's, naturally good on the block. You have all that, but it's the process of teaching everyone. So when the situation arises, my point guard has a physical mismatch over their point guard, and he just gets on the block and dominates them. He just whoops his butt, and just
skill set developed. Yeah.
Yeah, understanding that skill set. And we do, as we talk about these skill work rotations. So it starts off that we go through and the players are just doing jump hooks, just 2-ball pickup, right? Ball on each block. You just pick it up, go to your jump hook, pick up, go to your jump hook. Then you progress to going against a pad and understanding how to pin with your body and like how to post up and how to use my body. And then we start going live with a pad where the defender is allowed to try to steal the ball and knock it out with the pad. And then we progress to true one-on-one. And then by the end of the year, our skill work is like I talked about, that 2-on-2 post feed and relocate. So they're learning to do it live against defense, and they just gradually get better and better and better and better at it. And it's just this process. And one of the biggest reason that I am such a firm believer in it, and I know it from personal experience playing in it, is that when you are on the block working your tail off and you don't get the ball, it is infuriating. And you learn as a player. So they go back after AAU, they go back to their high school. Our guys are the best post feeders. I think our guys are some of the best post feeders in the city. All of our AAU guys, because we make them do it and because they know how important it is to get that guy the ball when he's working hard because they've done it themselves.
Right. They've
They've
been on both
been there.
ends of it. Yeah.
Yeah, they've been there. And when you post up and you're working and you don't get the ball, man, that's frustrating. And so they know that, and they therefore reward that guy, and they post feed him a lot.
Oh, I think that, that kind of lends into the, the thought and idea of what also makes positionless really exciting is that guys understanding of the game from an individual standpoint about all different aspects of the court, from a team aspect, the way that they run and work in an offense, they're seeing the game from all different perspectives and all different angles that their ability, I imagine, to make decisions and be able to make reads and understand, how to, you know, work against certain defenses has to grow up and be, significantly better than if they were in a fixed position just because they're seeing the court in so many different ways throughout a game.
Right. Right. And through this, we talked about it. The thing that I love so much about this. So I played, like I said, I played in this system in high school, in my AAU. And then also played in high school for a really good coach who also ran a 4-out 1-in, but it was more traditional with post feeds and that stuff. And then obviously I've worked under some really good coaches and stole things from them. And everywhere I go, I keep coming back to the way that we do it with our program, that everything that the other team throws at us, we are ready for, because it's all built into our motion and understanding how to play basketball. We run our 4-out 1-in, and like, oh, well, we'll just slip the screen or switch the screen and jump it. Like, okay, we're ready. We're going to slip. Oh, well, we'll just trap when you throw the ball to the corner and set that double screen. Okay, well, we're going to see that guy runs and we're going to go to 45 and cut. And whatever defense they run, we're ready for it. My one of the episodes I listened to is my buddy Micah. He runs the lock left.
Oh yeah.
The lock left, and it's really hard to run the block left when the ball is moving side to side that much. And then the other thing is, as soon as they go that lock left and they force you into the baseline, we're ready to make that X pass out to the other side and start swinging it. And then they're all out of rotation. But we don't have to run something new. We don't have to run a new play for that defense. We're already ready for that defense.
It's built in. Yeah, it's built into what you're doing already.
If a team is a denial team, we're ready to basket cut on it. If it's team's a pack line team, we're ready to reverse the ball and throw the skip pass. So it's just a little of everything is already built into this.
I'm curious about how much of their understanding of the game and how much your coaching involves them kind of like seeing it. Are you doing a lot of film work with your guys? Is that something that they needed? Because I imagine with like my girls, a lot of what they kind of understand obviously comes from playing it, but when they see it, there's also tons of connections they're making. I'm wondering how much, being able to see film and be able to see footage kind of helps a lot of this kind of sink in for them.
I actually don't watch a ton of film unless I'm not getting through to them. If I'm first gonna try to all of us coaches are used car salesmen, right? We're all selling our product. If I can't sell it to them and I need them to see it, then I'll go into that. Now, there are some guys, you always have a couple kids on your team that are hoops junkies, and we'll watch a lot of film together. And sit and talk about it. But a lot of it, like I said, is this just doing 3-on-3, 4-on-4, doing these breakdowns, and making sure that they're getting to rep it over and over again. Not a lot of talking during practice, and letting them figure out solutions.
Yeah, your practices, because you brought it up, right? There's going to be a lot of mistakes that are going to be made, and it's going to be really messy, but that's part of the process, right? Like it needs to be messy.
It needs to be messy, and then you correct it and you talk about it. We'll do, like I said, we'll do a lot of 3-on-3. 3-on-3 cutthroat is a game that we commonly play, which is like, so you got 9 guys in a basket. Either you score and you stay on, or you get a stop and you stay on, right? The winner of the possession stays on and the next team rotates through. So as they rotate out, I'll pull them over to me, talk them up about, okay, understand he jumped you right there, right? Cut. Okay. He went under that screen. So what do you need to do? Okay, I need to reshape my screen and I need to fade. Yeah, that's right. Okay, now go back out there and do it again. And that's how we kind of work our way through it. We also, a lot of times, the young levels and in practice, they'll bring the ball down, they'll run our transition, and then you'll just hear the coaches yelling from the sideline, "Where's your mismatch? Where's your mismatch?" Not saying what it is, just telling you, "Hey, where's your mismatch? Where's your mismatch?" And it's on the players to look around and go, "Oh, he's got it. He's got it. Okay, 41 Ben, he's got the mismatch."
Yeah, it's so cool because something like that could just be like done like really quick. You're not like stopping everything to talk to them, or you're not like putting practice or anything to like a grinding halt. You can just sort of like ask that question, get the response, get the adjustment made once they figure it out, and boom, and then you're just like still going.
Yeah, yeah,
And that,
and
it's very fast paced.
very fast paced, right? Our guys, we don't ever. I want to say we don't ever. Never is a word to avoid, but we very rarely run in practice. We very rarely run, and we are still one of the best conditioned teams because our practice is so fast paced. We are going all the time, and our guys know if we're running in practice, I'm livid with them. I'm yelling like because while they're having to do whatever sprint they're having to do, I'll be like, "We're wasting practice time. This is a waste of practice time because we are not competing and listening how we need to compete and listen. We're wasting practice time." And it only takes once or twice of that. And they're like, "Man, if we just go really hard and do what he's asking us to do, we don't have to run."
Yeah, it just get back to doing something a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, a lot more enjoyable. And then our second thing with that, is that we have a winner and a loser of every drill. Everything that we're doing has a winner and a loser in it. So we do have, sometimes it's running, but it also just be like, all right, you got a losers crab walk to half court and back. Losers got 5 pushes, right? So we always have, that's our other conditioning aspect is don't lose the drill. Which again, it reinforces this idea of like, okay, what do we need to do to win this drill? What's our advantage here? Because you always have an advantage. Your advantage might be your speed. Your advantage might be your physicality. Your advantage might be your skill. You always have an advantage. You just have to figure out what your advantage is.
Yeah, and that's not always easy, right?
Right.
They don't always get it the first, second, third, or fourth or fifth time, like we've talked
Right.
about.
Yep. And our other thing, I'm thinking back to, you said, guys, how do we get guys to understand what we do? I augment the rules a lot. A
Okay.
lot of augmenting rules. So, okay, we're going to play 41. You get 5 points for a jump hook. So,
Ooh, okay, yeah.
we'll play normal rules. Everything else is worth normal, but you get 5 points for a jump hook. And then early on, some kid will take a 2-pass 3-pointer, and you'll be like, "Awesome, man, that was worth 1 point. Why not shoot it from 2 feet away from the basket for 5 points?"
Right.
So, and then our other thing, all right, I want them to emphasize throwing the skip pass. We got to be good throwing the skip pass. Like, all right, you get 5 points for a skip pass shot. And then we're going to work on 45. All right, you get 5 points for a basket cut. And then you get 1 point for this. So we just twist the rules around until it is in their best interest to win the drill. Because if we lose the drill, we have a punishment, and we don't want that punishment. So I'm going to figure out how to win this drill, and I'm going to do the 5-point thing because that's going to help me win the drill.
Right. So you put those like kind of parameters to it that kind of gets you to what it is you want out of it.
It forces them to do what we want them to do. And then after they've done that for a little while, then they start realizing like, oh man, we're just scoring in bunches this way. And they just do it.
And then it's like, okay, I know this works. And I've, like this is something we can do.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly right. So that's a lot of what we do. It is boring in a lot of ways. Like, to some people, it's like, well, you're not doing anything. We don't have any cool actions. We're not drawing stuff up. We just reemphasize the same stuff over and over and over until we master it. We do have other stuff. We have ball screen actions that we do. We have some Princeton style stuff that we do, but that's all based off of each team, right? So every team has different pieces to it. it's all 41 and 45 is always the base. Everybody runs that. Some teams are like 45 teams a lot because they're just smaller and quicker. Some teams have power, so we're in 41 a lot more. And then with that, then we kind of, as the first couple of weeks go, I figure out, okay, that kid is going to be really good in the ball screen. That kid's going to be really good in the ball screen. So we have an action with two guys in the ball screen. Or other times I'll be like, all right, I'm going to be able to get all this group to do the ball screen stuff. So we have a continuity that has 5 ball screens in it. Like it's a continuous thing. Or we'll realize, okay, this our 6'8" kid can really pass the ball. So we're going to do some Princeton action stuff and put the ball in his hands a lot and read off of it. So when we want a curve ball, we have secondary stuff that we'll do with it, but that's all after we've mastered 41 and 45.
And I think like what you're bringing up is a good point of like, just because you're positionless doesn't mean that you as a coach are not aware of like certain strengths and certain skill sets that your
Right.
players possess, and are aware of like, hey, there's, certain things that we can, take advantage of using this kid who may be, exceptional at a certain skill, or have something that, they can really do. We'll make sure that, we have some ways to take advantage of that and not just expect, everybody to do everything and ignore, things that maybe players have, worked really good at or exceptionally good at.
Right. And again, it's the same thing. Early in the season, if I have a kid that is not ready to play all 5 positions yet, he might be a guy that, like, okay, he's newer to basketball, but he's big and strong and he's physical. You're just gonna stay at jump hooks until you have that mastered. So you're not gonna do the rotation. You're gonna stay there, and then he'll get that down. And then now, okay, well, now you're going to start joining into these ones. So as we're doing this, it's not just like it's willy-nilly, like, all right, everybody do everything all the time. Like, certain guys need to gradually do it. They can't do everything in a day. They need to do this one today, and then tomorrow they'll do these 2. And then they'll get to where they're doing 3. And then they'll get to 4, and then they'll get to 5. So it's not that guys, they don't come to you positionless. What you want to do is expand their full game, so by the end of it, they can do a little of everything. Your 7-footer is never truly going to be a point guard. But
right.
He gets to the point, and for us, he gets to the point that I've had many times where the R6'10" kid can handle the ball better than their 7-footer. Their D1 7-footer, he can't guard our 6'10" kid in the full court. But their D1 guard can get our D1 guard in the full court, right? Or our D2 guard.
Right. They have that exposure and that experience with it.
So we'll have times where the other team is pressing. I'm like, all right, everybody clear out. We're just going to give it to the 6'10" guy. Now you just beat the 7-footer off the floor and just handle it, just handle it that way. But that's obviously a progression that we get through.
And you talked about too about, you talk about with your club guys as well, like where the ultimate goal is, right? To have them have that skill set, right, for your club team, that they're going to have that ability to use some of these things when they go in the college level. They're not one-dimensional players. And so, thinking, you're not going to maybe be exceptional at this or the best person on the team at, ball handling, but you're going to have enough exposure and skill with it that you'll be ready when or if that ends up being called upon you in a high level situation. You'll have that skill over maybe somebody else who's comparable to you who hasn't really worked on it.
Yeah, so that's exactly right, and it's getting them to this next level. So I can't go the podcast without talking about a couple of our guys. We obviously, part of this is giving them the opportunity to do it, but we've been pretty lucky. Our program has to have some great guys recently. Everybody's sweetheart in the tournament was Drake, and 2 of Drake's guys are played for us. Bennett Sturts and Cameron Manuel are 2 of our guys, and both of them had this thing, and you can see it in their games. Bennett's so good at it. He understands when he's bigger than somebody. Okay, so I'm just going to put my body against them and sit. Okay, and then he understands when he needs to cut. He understands when he's too fast for someone, and he'll just rip through and go by him. he kind of has a little low post, mid post games at times. And so he's learned to do all of it. And then Cam he actually came to us from playing JV basketball. He played JV basketball as a junior at an amazing school, but he played some JV basketball as a junior and got his first college basketball offer 2 months later, and then was playing D1, ended up playing D1. So he didn't play varsity basketball until he was a senior in high school. But he was put in this situation that he hadn't been put in before to bring the ball up the floor. And so coaches are watching this 6'9" guy move and bring the ball up the floor, and they're like, whoa, man, that kid's going to be special. I'm like, yeah, you got to give him an opportunity to do it, though.
Yeah. Give him the chance.
Yeah. So you don't. This is a thing that I always tell people. Like, LeBron would never have been LeBron if he wasn't given the chance. You very easily could have put LeBron on the block when he was a fifth grader and never let him become what he was. You have to give them the opportunity to do it. You got to give them respect and responsibility, and they will rise. They will rise, and they will figure it out.
Well, you brought that up too about because you're not worried about winning at a fifth grade AAU level, right? You're worried about the overall development of where this player is going to get to eventually, and the skill set they're going to need at whenever that future is.
Yeah, would you rather have a fifth grade national championship or a college scholarship?
Yeah, no,
that's
exactly.
the question we posed to him. Like, all right, well, we're gonna do things this way.
Yeah. Big picture. Yeah.
Another one of our guys are probably one of the best teams we ever had in the program. We were lucky enough to have a guy that's in the NBA now named Landry Shamet. You Arizona guy, you'd know him from the Suns. But Landry's group was this way. His whole group all ended up being like 6'2" to 6'4", 6'6", right? They all just ended up being this all kind of wings. The whole team was wings. When you look at them size wise, they're high school wings. But we started teaching them this when they were fourth graders, and they got their tails kicked, and then they got their tails kicked, and then they got their tails kicked, and then all of a sudden they weren't getting their tails kicked, but they were still losing, and then they started getting closer. And then they started getting closer, and then they started beating those teams that used to kick their tail, and then they started kicking the tail of those teams that used to kick their tail.
Yeah,
it's all this progression to where you'd get to the point, and that team was what I consider my dream that I have. I've never had this truly happen in a game, but my dream is that I would love for every player on my team to hit a jump hook and a three-pointer and get an assist in the same game. That's my ultimate dream, is for all players that I put into the game to hit a jump hook, all 8 of them, hit a jump hook, hit a three-pointer, and get an assist in the game. Because that just is the versatility that we want.
The whole skill set there.
Yeah. They would do everything that's in our skill set in one game. I don't know that will ever happen in my lifetime. It's like just this such a narrow thing that's going to happen because there's times where you're just not going to have the mismatch, so you're never going to go to your jump hook. So, but it's a fun thing. We've had a ton of games where 7 or 8 guys hit a 3 in a game. In the same game, 7 or 8 different guys hit a 3, which is, as I talk about all this stuff that we're doing, shooting is obviously a huge part of this.
Sure.
And you have to be willing to go through the grind of teaching kids how to shoot, getting them to understand how to shoot. And it's not for everyone, because some people don't want to, they see a kid and they just don't believe they can turn that kid into a 3-point shooter. And you can. Everybody can learn how to shoot the ball. You just have to be willing to invest the time into them. Right? My promise to every single kid that I coach is that nobody is going to outwork me. I'm not the smartest coach in the world. I know that. Right? I'm not the most charismatic coach in the world. I get that. I'm not any of these things. There's coaches out there that can do stuff better than me. They have better X's and O's. They have better accolades than I have. But I promise you, nobody is going to outwork me, which means I'm in the morning every single morning before school, I'm there at 6 a.m. to get shooting up with you if you want to get shooting.
Yeah,
And there's
the
just,
availability. Yeah, being
yeah,
available.
being available, just being there all the time, and believing in them that they can do it. And that's how they learn to get there. You just got to keep believing them and convincing them that they can do it. Because shooting is hard. It's a humiliating thing for everyone, because the greatest player to ever shoot it is Steph Curry. If you look at statistics and whatever, I know there's arguments that Larry Bird would be as good and all those things. It's a whole separate discussion. But statistically, the greatest person to ever shoot a basketball is Steph Curry, and he fails more often than he succeeds. That's a hard thing for people. You're going to fail more than you succeed as a shooter. And so getting them to understand that and still believe in the importance of it and learning how to do it, and having the confidence in themselves, even if they miss a shot, to keep going, is just important. And it takes a lot of work. I a good coach is also a psychologist in some ways.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're
Mental side. That's
yeah, they're
real.
getting into their mental side and getting them to keep believing in what they're doing. Which is why like I say, it goes back to what we run is not super complex. It's just a lot of time getting them to be skilled. A lot of time to getting them skilled, and always having we have a plan for what our end dream is, right? So you're always you're sticking to the plan all the time, and the plan is not to win today's game; it's to win the long run.
Yeah.
So
I imagine it, and I imagine, sometimes as a coach, you got to remind yourself of that.
Oh
Sometimes
yeah,
when you're taking it on the chin at the beginning and things are looking really ugly, to stick with that process.
yep, and to not get frustrated and to stay positive with them. They're going to make mistakes, but stay positive with them is really important. And just get
No,
them to
definitely.
keep believing.
Before we hit our concluding segment, I had one more question I want to make sure I asked you, Coach, and that is, because I've heard this before about, I've had a couple people actually bring this up. This is a couple of years ago, but I've always kind of wondered about this with like a positionless type offense when you have a lot of different actions that you can get into and a lot of different things that you can run. What is the process like for you as a coach getting better at in-game adjustments in terms of making sure that your guys are getting the looks that they need, they're reacting correctly to defenses? As a coach, how do you manage kind of letting your guys be able to kind of figure it out versus like giving them insights on like, hey, these are the things we should look to exploit, or these are the things we should be looking into or taking advantage of? What's that balance like for you as a coach?
Yeah, I know it's just a simple, boring answer. 3-on-3 is the best thing that I think any coach can do. Do 3-on-3 and break whatever it is you want them to do. And it's not just free 3-on-3, whatever you want. Okay, we're doing 3-on-3 in this situation. And then you're learning how to do it. And then you'll talk to the defense. Okay, I want you guys to switch the screen. Okay, I want you guys to try to top lock him. Okay, I want you guys to chase here. And you're switching what the defense is doing, and then the offense is learning to react to it. And then when they see that situation in the game, they've seen it before. And in high school, especially in our game prep, I'll watch a lot of film and I'll see how teams like to run stuff. And then I'll make sure, like, okay, this is a switching team. In practice, we'll talk about it. All right, you're going to set the screen. You see that guy's hips move. When you see his hips move, you just dive right at the rim. And you kind of walk them through all these things. But anything we do, we have, like I talked about, we do some Princeton action stuff and the Zoom action. You just go 3-on-3, whatever it is, you just go 3-on-3 with it and isolate that portion of what you're doing. You just, whatever you want to work on, just isolate it and then augment the rules. And now they will do what you are hoping that they're going to do. So not anything super special. Just like we said, just keep digging away, just keep hammering the nail, and then they eventually get it.
And it just goes back to what you talked about, right? About that process of just like of consistently allowing them to fail, allowing them to figure out like what's working or what isn't, being able to make those adjustments on their own. And there's a lot of, from what you're saying, and I really like this, like empowerment that's kind of given to your players, and allowing them to, really digest and learn the game, and be able to absorb what's happening and why I should do this certain action or why a certain action doesn't work. And to me, I think that's the most powerful way for players to learn, is to really go through the struggles and the adversity, and to go through something and then be asked, hey, what worked here, what didn't work here. I think you get such good insight as a coach as to where your player's mind is at and what they're thinking, that to me that's invaluable when I can kind of put myself in my players' heads and figure out like, oh, this is what you saw here. This is what you're thinking. I think that's like the best stuff in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. And me, and like you nailed it there. Like, since I played in it, I know exactly how you score in it. I know how to score in it because I've done it myself. Now that I'm getting to be 35, 36, it's harder for me to jump in there with them, but I'll still sometimes just jump in there with them, like, and just show them what I'm talking about. Like, once you're working on this, or, I'm lucky enough to have a lot of alumni. I'll bring my alumni back and I'll be like, all right, I want you to really work on doing this. And then they'll go out there and just show the new guys. They'll just show them, hey, this is how we do things,
Yeah.
So that's a big part of it. That's what you talked about, them seeing it on film or modeling it. I'll just jump in there and do it and show them
Yeah.
what I want to do. One of my favorite things, I'm huge on the jump hook. I believe it's not a true Kareem sky hook. It's a baby hook, but teaching them the baby hook. I love teaching them the baby hook, and doing it from everywhere. And I'll just get in a one-on-one game, and I'll tell them like, all right, I want you to guard me. I'll turn and look at the defender and look at everybody and go, I'm going to shoot a right-hand jump hook here. And I'll look at the guy and like, get ready. I'm going to shoot a right-hand jump hook. Try to stop me. And then I'll shoot it, and they can't stop you. There's nothing they can do to stop the jump hook.
Mm-hmm.
You just pump fake and pivot and pump fake until they relax, and then you just shoot it. So getting them to understand that, and they'll all laugh, and then they're like, all right, we get the message. We're going to start shooting them. And I talk to them as you're getting guys early before they understand the true positionless stuff. Early on, I talked to them about, these things that we're doing the station work and teaching you. Even if I'm never going to be on the block, I never feel like I'm going to post somebody up. If I catch the ball on the wing, I take 2 dribbles and I jump stop in the middle of the paint. I'm a post player now. Everybody's a post player. You're on the wing, you dribble, you get to the middle of the paint, and you jump stop. How are you any different than the post player that we just post fed the ball in the middle of the paint?
Mm-hmm.
You're with no dribble in the middle of the paint. So you better learn what to do when you're no dribble in the middle of the paint. So you got the jump hook. You got the pivot through and the step through. You can pivot back to the jump hook. You got the up and under. But, getting them to understand that, like, the things that we are teaching you doesn't mean that you're this, that you're that you're whatever, right? It doesn't mean that. Everyone is in the situation where they have no dribble in the middle of the paint. Every team has that situation. And you see it all the time in college basketball, and guys sometimes don't know what to do. They get in the middle and they panic when they get in the middle of the paint and they didn't have the layup. Well, learn to pivot, learn to have a go-to move on the block, and then you'll be able to score there. That's our big thing.
That's how you solve that, right?
Yeah, it's how you solve it. You learn to have a go-to move in the no dribble on the block situation.
Mm-hmm. That's a great example. Awesome. Coach, man, this has flown by. That's so much great stuff that I gotten from you here. It's crazy that an hour's already just zoomed right by. But I want to make sure I ask you these couple questions that I ask every guest before I let you go. Starting with this first one, which is thinking back on your coaching career. What is a specific moment from your coaching career that you think by sharing our listeners would be able to learn from?
Early in my career, I don't know if it's a moment per se, but early in my career, I was really into running a lot of actions. Like, I'm a hoops junkie, so I was always watching stuff. I was always seeing what people were doing, and I was trying to run a bunch of stuff along with my base. And my coaching mentor, someone that I look up to, his motto, he would always tell me, he's like, Doug, dude, just kiss. I'm like, what? He goes, kiss. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
Man, just keep it simple. And when I stopped, this is his word for it. He was like, dude, you're always trying to be cute. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm just running stuff. And then I finally got what he meant. And like, I stopped trying to be cute and run stuff. And I just stuck to my base and mastered my base. And learning that has helped me to take off as a coach. I've become a much better coach, much more successful when I just stick to the plan. I just stick to the base.
It's
So,
no, that's great, because it's like, don't we want to, as coaches, want to be like, have all these variations, be great at everything, and have 1,000 things that we're like masters of, but then we don't end up, really becoming refined at anything or having any sort of identity. So I mean, it's probably really good advice to like kind of keep you grounded a little bit and keep you simplified, and I mean that in the best way possible.
yeah. Yeah.
Awesome. Coach, to wrap up, I love to give every guest what I kind of call the 60-second soapbox. You can go over 60 seconds, though. I just like to give a fun, uh, catchy title to things, but I love to use it as a way to have you kind of get out like a final thought, a closing message, a final idea, just something you could leave the listeners with. You could take it any direction that you want, coaching or basketball wise, anything. It's your soapbox after all. So, Coach, I'm going to let you have the floor here and just let you take it from here.
Okay. So it's funny. You posed this question to me, and I was like talking to some of my coaching friends about this. And one of my friends was like, well, I know what your soapbox is. And he told me, which I don't want to get on this too long, but my number one pet peeve in basketball, we have these basketball colloquialisms. My number one is when people say to follow your shot. I cannot stand when people say to follow your shot. That means when you shot the ball, what did you think was going to happen? You thought you were going to miss. Well, why did you shoot it in the first place? If you let go of it and you just start running after it, that means you thought you were going to miss. That doesn't make any sense. When I shoot the ball, or when you shoot the ball, you should be running back on defense because you thought it went in the basket. That's just my little side soapbox. And then also, me being a math teacher, the other side of that is the mathematical probability of it hitting the rim and coming directly back to you is such a low percentage, it doesn't make any sense. Nothing about it makes sense. To follow your shot. That's
I love it. No, I know that's the confidence part, right? Like
yeah.
that's so funny. Like, because when you said that, it reminds me of what I tell my girls about. Like, I tell them like it's funny now that I'm thinking about this. I tell them like every single time I shoot the basketball, I know it's gonna go in, and they look at
Correct.
me so weird. It's like, but it doesn't. I'm like, yeah, but the next time I shoot it, it will. And they like it, like then it clicks to them, like the confidence part of like, oh, like I get what you mean, the way that you just feel like when you shoot, like, oh, it's gonna go in. Like I'm gonna shoot with that, confidence, and shoot with that belief that it's gonna go in. I'm never gonna just assume it's not gonna go in. So it's just so funny you brought that point up too, about like,
Yeah.
don't shoot and follow your shot and think you're just gonna miss it. Like you're already shooting with in your mind that you're gonna miss, right?
Yeah.
It's such a weird way to think about it. It's like I don't think we would do that with like layups, right? We don't like
Right.
shoot a layup and then like immediately try to do a putback or something. So no, that's funny.
I
Awesome.
got I
Go
got
ahead.
one other
I want
soapbox
it. I
thing.
want it. Go for it.
I would love for all leagues from youth all the way through to have the same rules. I want everyone to do quarters. Why does college basketball do halves when the rest of us do quarters? Everyone do quarters. Same rules. Everyone have the shot clock. I understand why youth wouldn't have it, but high school on, everyone, all states should have a shot clock. And the third one, which we did it. We play in the Pro 16 league. They do an awesome job. A guy named Matt Reynolds runs it. He is awesome, and he has some really innovative stuff. He allows you to advance the ball on a timeout like the NBA, and it
Oh,
is
okay.
so much fun. It's so much fun. It changes the other team scores with 2 seconds left. It's totally different when you can take that timeout and advance the ball.
Mm-hmm.
It's a totally different game, and it makes it so much fun. There's so many more game-winning opportunities and stuff. I would love to see that all across high school and college. Let everybody advance the ball because it just makes it so fun. It's just a pure, like, how cool it is. And that's like a rule that not a lot of people think about. It's like my own side soapbox that I love anything that involves more strategy, and advancing the ball, that makes more strategy.
Oh yeah. I
So
mean, the complete difference, right? In scenario and situation and the way you approach it.
yeah,
Yeah.
really, really, really fun. I really enjoy it. So that's my other soapbox is that all rule is the same. So there's two parts to that: advance the ball, and then can we please all just get the shot clock in high school? I'm tired of seeing a Twitter video of a team standing at half court and the score is 2-2 at the end of the first quarter.
As a coach in a state that has recently adopted the shot clock, I am forever grateful, and I never know how I made it without one. I am so happy to have one. So yes, whatever petition I have to sign, let me know, or wherever conference I have to speak at, I'll be there. I will co-sign that. So
Yeah.
for sure, Coach, appreciate it a lot. Love passion, enthusiasm, and everything that you shared about your offense. I love the whether the actions or the ideas behind it are simple, like all of the skill work and all of the work and effort that goes into it. I think it's really cool. And then I love the way that you're preparing guys for beyond fifth grade AAU or their freshman year, and truly building some really awesome basketball players. And I know that you just started year one there at Penny, but man, I know you're going to be hitting the ground running here in this offseason and going forward, and just going to be that much better for it. So look forward to following your journey, Coach. And thank you so much for coming on and talking some hoops with us. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for the invite. I loved it. Always love listening and learning hoops from people. And obviously, if anybody's interested in talking more about it, I'm all ears. I'm not a gatekeeper of our secrets. So
that's the best part of our coaching community, I think, is how much we're willing to share. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for listening. This was another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. We will see you guys next time.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Basketball Teacher Podcast. Make sure to connect with us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, or reach us directly through email at basketballteacherpodcast@gmail.com. Take care, be safe, and we'll see you next time.